And welcome to Alouettes Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football. I am Tim Capper, along with my co-host Cliffy D. Hey, bud, how you doing?
Oh man, just living the dream as always, man, and so excited to be able to back and talking Alouettes football again. It's been a while. I mean, what, a whole 2 weeks?
Yeah, I don't know
So
where that. It's been way too long. It's
it,
been way too long. and,
listen,
and,
we
and
we got to do something to get this off season moving, right? I mean, Make really can't come fast enough, as far as I'm concerned.
no, I know. Yeah, I will admit, camping in Saint Jerome this year is going to be. It's going to be a different experience, obviously, from what it's been for Troy. But we're also sitting here. We're wondering if the night we're doing this, we're wondering if our power is going to stay on or not because the wind in Montreal tonight is absolutely nuts. And you and I are not close to each other, and we both have it. It's winding. It's winding outside. So
Yeah, I really keep meaning to. I keep thinking about needing to buy one of these Jackery batteries that all
oh
these van
yeah,
life guys are doing, and just plug all my crap in there, and just we can still keep going. We're good.
that
We're
would be
good.
hilarious. Power goes off, and all of a sudden, hey, I'm still good. I'm still good. Yeah. Hey, also we can't continue without thanking our presenting sponsor, SportBuff, where if you go to their website and use the promo code OwlsFlightDeck10 at checkout, you'll save 10% off the entire order. So head over to sportbuffshop.com, use the code, save 10%, and support local. Because these guys, I'm sure if you heard or say many a time over the years, if you know Chris and Gary, so the Sport Buff name, they're absolute legends when it comes to sports merchandise. So it's just remember. I don't know if you remembering the days back at Atwater over at Alexis Neon, being able to go into the original, the actual physical Sport Buff store. It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, back when sticks and bricks stores were actually a thing, and not just what they've become now. I mean, listen, ordering online is great and everything like that, but sometimes you just want to go in and actually see it. So there are times where I miss that, but at the same time, it's like then you walk into a store and you're pressured to buy something. Whereas at least if you go on the website, you take a look, you check it out, and I mean, you see all the merchandise there, and you see everything that's there, and you get a chance to really scope it out in that, and then decide if that's for you. So I guess there's good and bad to it all, but yes, definitely, folks, if you haven't already, check out sportbuffshop.com. Got all kinds of great merch on there. As always, you got to support local. So Tim and I, we support local. Make sure you do as well.
Exactly. For this episode, there isn't that much news, but we do have some stuff that we are going to be talking about this episode. But
And we have
also
a guest.
hey, that's that. Oh, you are think alike. Yeah, think alike, my friend. Think alike. Obviously, with the changes that the Owls have gone through when it comes to the new additions for the Alouettes roster for 2024, we wanted to bring in some new faces and get to know them, and that's exactly what we've done this week. So stay tuned for in a little bit. We're going to be speaking with the newest Alouettes signee, defensive lineman Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund, a Canadian boy. So, hey, right there, ratio breaker. But it was just stay tuned for the interview, and we hope you learn a little bit more about him. So, my as I said, I think it's gonna be fun. So, okay. We seem to be, it's fun to say over the past 13 years, we were suffering Alouettes fans, Cliff, because we hadn't won the Grey Cup. And as CFL fans, we are also we're the fans that are really suffering too in another way. The Alouettes have not had hosted a Grey Cup in quite a while. And recently, there was some news that was announced in Quebec through the Quebec government, and I guess for the OIB, which is the corporation that runs the Olympic Stadium. It looks like it's going to be a little bit more longer before we actually get to host another Grey Cup, isn't it?
Yep. And it's so funny because when I go to Grey Cup every year, and people, they know that, they know me through the Alouettes, and the biggest question I get asked more than anything else seems to be, when is Montreal hosting another Grey Cup?
Mm-hmm.
If you've been to Grey Cup in Montreal, Montreal is a party city. Montreal is all about letting loose and getting wild and watching the game at Olympic Stadium. You got like 60,000 plus fans in there. Stadium's rocking. I mean, it's in that sense, it's a great atmosphere football, but you can't do it during the regular season, and that's why the Alouettes don't play at Olympic Stadium. But it's always, when are you going to host a Grey Cup again? And truthfully, until Olympic Stadium gets a permanent roof, you can't even begin to entertain that idea.
Yeah.
Which to me is absolutely ridiculous, because I know you can't really predict the weather, and the big concern is that the roof just isn't going to hold up to inclement weather. And God forbid you have that situation like you had back in Minnesota all those years ago at the Metrodome, where everything just caves in, and this is going on during the championship football game. So it's tough.
And we've had our fair share of things happening to the roof here in Montreal too. Actually, things happening at the Big O specifically. So,
and the biggest thing though is the fact that, truthfully, it's going to cost close to $1 billion to put a permanent roof on. And if you were to believe the Quebec government, they're saying it would cost $2 billion to just tear down the stadium. So they feel it's more cost effective, believe it or not, to sink money into a stadium, even though there's no tenant, there's no full time. It's, call it for what it is. It's a landmark,
mm-hmm.
and some would even argue it's like it should be given national heritage status, a heritage building status. But
no,
truthfully, well, you and I won't argue that. But truthfully, though, do we Quebec taxpayers really want to pay for this? Really, truly? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. And I would like to see Olympic Stadium used in some way, shape, or form, in just not the way it's being used now. And I just don't see the point of sinking even more money into it. I really don't. The Alouettes are not going to move back there. That would just be absolutely terrible. There's no tenant. Baseball's not coming back. I'm sorry, Expos fans. It bums me out too. But yeah, you're not getting a stadium, not even on a temporary basis. I don't think they're even hosting like exhibition games there anymore for Major League Baseball. So no baseball, no football, no soccer, because you got Stade Saputo next door, and it's a fine stadium. It's doing its job. You're not getting like 60,000 fans to watch Lionel Messi or David Beckham at Olympic Stadium either. So truthfully, there's nothing to use the Olympic Stadium for. So why are you sinking $900 million into this roof for no good reason, as far as I'm concerned?
Yeah,
and then to come up with a cock and bull story about how it's going to cost nearly $2 billion to demolish the stadium.
Garbage.
No, I'm sorry. That doesn't even come close to passing the smell test, as far as I'm concerned.
What people need to understand too, if you haven't been following the news, is more than just the roof itself. Obviously, the roof, there are some limitations for what the roof can have during the wintertime. If there's an X amount of snow on the roof itself, nobody can be in it. That's how unsafe that they say that the roof is, because potential some safety hazard. But also now they're talking about there's actually a concrete ring that goes around it that supports the roof, is what needs to be also replaced. And that's where the amount of money is that they're claiming would cost for them to do this. And if this does go through, which the way they were going here in Quebec, and just look at our roads and stuff like that, the state that they can be in sometimes. If this does get done, Cliff, at earliest, Montreal would be able to host a Grey Cup, I think, in 2028. 2028 or 2029, which in itself would be 20 or 21 years since the last time is that Montreal hosted a Grey Cup.
Yeah, and unfortunately, having the Grey Cup at Percival Molson Stadium is just not even close to feasible.
I still want that. I still want that, though.
Sure, but would you pay $300, $400, $500 for tickets to sit on a bench? Hell no. If the stadium went ahead and got permanent actual seats, that'd be a different story. But even then, I think you'd be lucky to get to 20,000 seats
Mm-hmm.
with that, to put actual seats in, as opposed to like sitting on, the little postage size stamp that is considered a seat at Percival Molson Stadium currently. But
Yeah, even moving the fan zone, even bringing it back up to its capacity at 25,000, they might be able to add some extra seats in there. But I mean, people may say, well, look what they did in Hamilton, the COVID year, and then last year. Yeah, sure, it was just over 30,000, but it's over 30,000. That's the thing.
yeah,
So
and there's just, I couldn't see where you could put like temporary seating at Percival Molson, either like whether it's in the fan zone and just have it just against the neurological center, or on the other side, like that where the actual entrance is. There's no way you could put permanent seating. It would be sketchy as hell. I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't want to be sitting there and then paying for the privilege to sit on said sketchy scaffolding.
yeah,
That's a
well, I remember
that's a hard no.
didn't they try to do that, even though there's so many seats over at Texas Stadium where the Cowboys play, where they did that also with temporary seats, and they ended in the upper deck, and they ended up not. I think they ended up being condemned because they weren't for that game. They couldn't be used because they weren't put together properly.
Right. So I
So you had all
mean,
these people scrambling for the Super Bowl.
yeah. I mean,
So,
that's. I
but
mean, the CFL takes enough of a beating online, and from like naysayers and haters, and that cheerfully disregarding what you had just talked about over at Texas, or was it AT&T Stadium
yeah,
in Dallas for that Super Bowl. But still, I mean, if you're going to do it properly, regardless of the league, regardless of,
mhm.
especially if it's your championship game and you want as many people there as possible. All this to say that no, Percival Molson Stadium, as cool as it would be and fun, and as great as it would be, it's just not feasible to host a Grey Cup there.
which is unfortunate. I mean, unless they figure something out. I mean, it's just a matter we're going to have to watch, see what happens, because now there's been obviously some major pushback by not only the politicians but also by fans, and who are the taxpayers who would be paying basically for this extra million, but up to $1 million to have this roof fixed. And I mean, we haven't seen renderings of it
Million.
yet, but it look sorry, yeah, but it looks from what I'm seeing, it looks good. Using some transparency ideas from the other stadiums out west and stuff like that. San Diego and LA and Vegas, and having a clear roof. But I know, again,
But again, that's all well and good, but without a tenant, like a true tenant in that building, like what are you sinking all this money into for? What, for the aesthetic, for the look? It,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
two soccer games a year, potentially pulling some stuff out of the Palais de Congrès. Which I don't think would happen, because the Palais de Congrès has become the place when it comes for any type of of
Major
boat
trade
show.
show, or
Yeah,
yeah.
boat show, trade show, car show, exactly. So it's
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. But unfortunately, as it is, there's not much we can do as CFL and Alouette supporters. That it's just not gonna happen. We're gonna have to.
And I don't think there's anything you could offer Pierre Carl Pelado to move the Alouettes back to playing at Olympic Stadium. I think, truthfully, I'd see him building his own stadium first, like his own football only stadium.
Yeah, because I don't think,
First.
even like they did at BMO, I don't think Saputo would be able to be expanded enough to hold a Grey Cup.
Yeah, and even then, you're back to still the same issue of the fact that it's not downtown. It's not like, it's far away from
Yep.
everything. I mean, yes, you can access it by subway, but again, you wouldn't, there's no atmosphere around that area that you
Yeah.
would expect for Grey Cup, like, or a major event like that. So,
Oh, not much we can do, right? That's
I mean,
we'll have to live with it and see what happens. I mean, it is very possible, which would be sad, that Montreal may never be able to host a Grey Cup again. But only time will tell, I guess. And I guess the money or whatever, because
unless Mr. Pelado wants to build Stad Videotron, I mean, that's
question is where, though.
well,
That would
I
be the
mean,
question. That would be the
well,
question.
one day we'll get him on the show, and I will definitely ask him that and see what he has to say.
Yeah. So, let us know what you guys think about it. I mean, it's a sad story, obviously, but obviously right now there's not much we can really do except watch from behind the curtain. So, as we're talking about free agency at the beginning of the show, Cliff, and even though the Alouettes seem to be pretty much well and done when it comes to free agency, the Alouettes still are signing some people who I guess didn't go as quickly as they thought they would when free agency did begin originally. But the Owls did sign another returning Alouette. He's coming back to the nest, isn't he?
He sure is, and he actually can call himself a Grey Cup champion now because he was very much a part of the championship roster.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Nafis Lyon, who came to the Alouettes via trade with Edmonton a couple of years ago, was our starter on defense. Unfortunately, suffered what turned out to be a season-ending injury for him that first game against Ottawa during the home opener, which really sucks because Nafis is an absolutely outstanding football player, just an absolute bear on defense. And so he was due to hit the market on free agency. There were no takers, and I wonder if the Alouettes were kind of just hoping and praying that someone didn't see the value in him, and clearly that was the case. And Montreal was able to swoop in, bring him back to the nest, which is absolutely fantastic. I think he'll be a great contributor along the same lines of Najee Murray, who is also coming back from a major injury, and is also a defensive wizard. I'll call him that. I definitely think these two young veterans will be a big part of the secondary, a big part of what makes this Alouettes defense so strong yet again. Again, we're very excited about the moves that were made in free agency thus far, but also some of these other moves that they don't get quite the fanfare that you would expect, and it's almost like, oh, Nafis Lyon is coming back. Great. I'm like, yes, it is great because when he's healthy, he's a hell of a player. You didn't see it last year, but trust me, he's one of those guys that can turn a game on a dime, and he didn't get a chance to do it last year, unfortunately, but you got to believe he will be coming back very motivated, very excited to show what he can do and to get back in with those guys that we talked about. And also, too, with the youngsters like the KB Nentos and the Reggie Stubblefields and Marc-Antoine Dequoy to make this defense, to make this secondary just an absolute beast. And yeah, I definitely think this is one of those signings that doesn't have a lot of fanfare, but come October, November, we'll be thankful, very thankful that the Alouettes said, yeah, we want Nafis back in blue and red, and look what he's done for us so far. And to me, that's going to be key. It's signings like that I really think will help ensure that this Alouettes team remains competitive for years to come.
And it's experience. That to me, that's one of the biggest pluses too, Aircliff, is that there's experience within Nafis. So, and he knows the system. I mean, it's not saying that our new guys that we've signed for on defense aren't going to be able to, master Noel Thorpe's system. They should be able to. I mean, they're pros. So it's still cool to see that we're able to still bring back some of the guys that helped the Owls win the cup last year. So, so speaking of free agents, you teased at the beginning. I think we have an interview, don't we?
We sure do. We're very excited to be able to, as we've done over the past couple of years, one of our first episodes of the year, we always seem to have a free agent signing or a returnee to the team. And we're keeping that tradition going once again. We are very excited to be able to welcome a new Alouette to the Alouettes flight deck. Without any further ado, let's sit down. Let's have a chat with our new defensive lineman, Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund. All right. Well, folks, Alouettes free agency, I'd say the dust is settled now, and I think we've got a pretty good idea of where this team is going forward now as far as the 2024 season is. We're very excited to be joined tonight by one of the acquisitions, if you will, from the Calgary Stampeders, now a member of the Montreal Alouettes. We are so excited to welcome to the flight deck Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund. Isaac, welcome to the Alouettes Flight Deck, and of course, welcome to Montreal.
Thank you. I'm excited to get out there and just be a part of the squad, man. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right. So give us a quick look at the free agency process. I mean, I don't believe you've gone through it before. I think you were drafted by Calgary, so I mean, this is your first chance to sort of see what else is out there and take us through the experience of going from being a Calgary Stampeder to now becoming a Montreal Alouette.
Yeah, I was drafted to Calgary, and I just met a lot of good guys here. I would say so. Just a lot of good players and a lot of guys that are on now on the Alouettes. But the process, it was a little bit. It wasn't dragged out. It was, I spoke with Montreal day one of the window, and that was, it was pretty much, getting the ducks in a row, and then, by day two, we had an agreement settled. I'm pretty sure it was day two or day three. Probably day two, but it was quick. I spoke with all the coaching staff. I spoke with, everyone that I had to talk to, and it was really good. I wouldn't say it was difficult at all. I just wanted to go to an organization that, showed interest in me, and Montreal was there at the jump. And it was a really easy decision for me. It wasn't difficult at all. So just really appreciative of the organization and the process itself.
Now, is it interesting coming and being a part of what's now become a championship organization?
Yeah, it's. I'm excited. You know what I mean? I don't think like you look at it, and anytime there's a championship organization, it's just an honor to be looked at as an acquisition, as somebody that the organization might look to provide something that they think they might need, and they don't need a lot. They just won, and I'm just excited to be a part of it, and it's refreshing.
When you were being recruited, who was the most vocal to get you to the Alouettes? Who was the first? Did anybody contact you as soon as a player, whoever it may be, as soon as that tampering window opened up?
Yeah, I'm good friends with Lamb, and he was one of the guys that I met here my rookie year in Calgary. So he's always been helping me out in terms of how to get better with the game and the game speed and different things to look at, and just how to be successful in the game. So I've spoken with him. I talked to him all the time. I was talking to him yesterday, and we're always going back and forth. So I'm sure he put a good word out for me. He knows the type of player I am and the type of teammate I am, and I really appreciate it for him. And he's probably the main one for sure.
How was it going through the tampering window for the very first time as a free agent? Was it because obviously NFL and other leagues like Major League Baseball, there's no such thing as this tampering window. How did you go about it?
It was like leading up to it. It was a little weird because you don't really know where you stand, and then you got obviously the deals started to go fast. I feel like, you know what I mean? You didn't want to be there on day 4 or day 5. You didn't really, I mean, at least for me, what I mean?
Yeah.
It was new for me. I wasn't really sure. And it was once I got there and I realized like who was interested in me and what teams I felt comfortable with and with their vision of me and their system, then I was I was really comfortable with the process. You just have to just go in with an open mind and not close any doors, and it worked out.
Are you a player who represents yourself, or do you have an agent?
No, I got an agent. Rob Fry is my agent. He represents everyone, I think.
Just
seems
about.
like seems like he's got coaches, GMs, and players, and so he's great though.
Awesome.
Obviously,
we're looking at you're drafted in 2020. What was it like being drafted in the COVID year?
Yeah, it was crazy. The whole reason I went to, I went down south was because I'm Canadian. The whole reason I went down south, and I actually like my dream for football when I realized I could actually play at professional level was in Quebec when I played in Sherbrooke, at Champlain and Lennoxville. So going to play football down south from there, and then kind of having everything fall down because I was actually in Arizona training like, with dudes like Alex Highsmith and Travis Gibson and Jonathan Taylor, like we're all together. And the COVID thing happened, and I had to get home as fast as possible. My grandmother was get home, like so. I went back to New Orleans, shipped all my stuff home, and then it was kind of like a wild turn of events because then the NFL thing got shut down immediately. There was no camps. There was nothing like that. And then, like even for the CFL, like you couldn't have any people over to watch the draft. Like, I think I might have had like 6 people over, and my whole family was scared that the police were going to come in and break down the party. But it was interesting. Obviously, as rookies, that COVID year we didn't play, so there was no compensation. There was, I worked like a temporary childcare job back in Halifax. I actually really enjoyed it. But it was a challenge, but I'm happy that I got to go through it and I got to grow from that experience anyways.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, we've talked to a few of the guys who were on the team at the time too, and just talking to whether they were wide receivers or whether they were quarterbacks. It's just a matter of keeping yourself in shape, continue working out, because as you guys couldn't do anything. You really could not do anything. So,
yeah.
All right, let's talk about you being on this defensive line, and also too being joined by Derek Wigan as well, another teammate of yours from Calgary.
Yeah.
How much did Danny Machocha talk to you about his working with the defensive line? Because it seems to me like that's been his pet project since he started this job here in Montreal. Like he's made it very clear the defensive line is his number one priority, and it feels like he's always tinkering with it. He's always making changes. Even after winning a Grey Cup, you're like, no, we're still going to make some moves. We're going to get an Isaac Berglund and a Derek Wigan. Like, where do you think you fit in this lineup?
Yeah, I don't want to, and that's the thing too. Like these guys, obviously, they just won the championship, so it's I just want to come in and I want to contribute in any way that I can, and I think what they look for in me is what I bring to the field. I bring physicality. I'm a violent pass rusher, and I have a high motor, and that's what's gotten me to this point thus far. And I'm excited to see what I can do with a little bit of opportunity sprinkled into that mix. I think you watch their film, and even me, like I'm actually like currently I can't even sit down because everything in my house here is sold in Calgary. So I'm literally just waiting for my landlord to come and take everything. But all I've been doing is just sitting down like on the floor, literally watching film for the past 4 or 5 days. And you look, there's so many different, like you had the Luals and you have so many different players in the system that can do so many different things. And credit to Thorpe too, because he's always allowing the defense to succeed as well. But yeah, like I just want to come in and play my part and help this team repeat and do what they do best, and however that works. Even with Wiggs, I was with Wiggs last night, and with him, he's a great leader, and he's like the ultimate teammate. So he gets things done as well. And yeah, I think we're probably just looking to do the same thing, as to come in and help the defensive line in any way we can.
Not to mention the fact that you guys are ratio breakers. That's got to be huge, and factoring into how often you will be getting into the lineup.
Yeah, and it's hard because there's so many different rules now. I feel like with the nationalized American, and it's hard to even kind of differentiate how it works. But whatever helps the team, yeah, being Canadian, hey, whatever helps these guys, and I'm happy to help out. So.
No, I mean, I look at this lineup. I mean, you, Wigan, Lemon, Mustafa Johnson, Brock Gowanlock. I mean, like, you're talking about a murderer's row here. I mean, this is like I almost feel a little bit sorry for the quarterbacks you guys are going to be facing, because you guys are going to bring the heat. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and you got Dylan Wynn up in there too. So.
Oh yes.
Like, yeah, I've gotten to, in a lot of these guys, I've gotten the pleasure of watching like throughout like my rookie year, because I was just looking at everyone's game, and Sean Lemon always makes it happen. So he's constant production. But yeah, the rest of us too, I feel like, just a nice potent mix. So hopefully we can just get it done.
And by the way, Cliff, no, we don't feel bad for the quarterbacks. They're our team. We don't feel bad for them at all.
I mean, maybe a little. I'm just like, it'll be a passing fancy. It's just be like, oh, that's a shame. Another sack. How terrible.
Now that you're a part of Alouettes Nation, Isaac, I mean, what are you looking on? Obviously, you've been to Montreal before. It's not as often as you normally would because you were playing on a Western team. But what are you looking forward most to Montreal once you get here?
Yeah, I mean, like I spent 2 years out there after high school, so like I was in Sherbrooke, so it's a different monster. Montreal's a different monster, but man, like I have so many friends out there still to this day that are done ball that I played with in Calgary that are now there. Like Andrew Cnet Spalding is out there, and I'm just excited to get into town and to get a routine. To find different spots like. Different gyms to work out at. I do a lot of different stuff in the off season, so I've got those lined up, and then obviously the food. But yeah, I'm just excited to get into the mix and kind of make myself at home within the communities in Montreal. Yeah, just kind of be around the team and be around the community. That's really what I'm looking for. Aside from the football, which will be a little bit later. I think I'll be there. I think I'll be in Montreal April 1st. That's my goal, and then that's pretty much the plan. I just want to get around the team and get familiarized with my surroundings.
Have you had a chance to talk with?
I would say I'm sure one thing too you're not going to miss is those weird schnooks and cold weather out west.
Man. Even right now, it's like minus 25. Like 3 days ago, I had a T-shirt on walking my dog, and now it's like I got snow pants on and a balaclava. The only things that are showing in my eyes. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Do we dare tell them what the temperature is right now, Tim?
What is it out there now?
Well, it got to plus 15 today, and we're going into a flash freeze tonight. So we're going to be minus 11 by tomorrow morning.
Minus 11. That's it. Oh man, that's easy.
I know I know.
It's balmy.
Oh man, I'll take that. That's easy. But yeah, I'm excited to get out there for sure. There's so many good things about Montreal, and I never really got to fully experience it as I was in Sherbrooke, and one of us shared a car, so whenever we went out there, it was like for dinner, and then came back to Sherbrooke, and I'm just excited to be around a community that I'm not familiar with, and get my French back, man. Like I'm excited about that. Got to get my French back, and yeah, I'm excited.
You'll be thrown in. You'll be thrown into it immediately, especially with camping up in Saint Jerome this year. So it's you'll get thrown into it right away. And you know what? With all honesty, Isaac, and I'm sure you know this, the fans will adore you. You just try. That's all that matters to them. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And I was gonna say I took French immersion up to like grade 12, and so like I got all my stuff, all my ducks in a row. And when I lived out there, like I had French teammates that all they did was speak French, and a lot of those guys are some of those guys are in the NFL now, and a lot of them in the CFL. And we talk a little French on the field just for good fun. But yeah, once I get there, all I need is a week.
There you go.
And I'm good.
Yeah, you're gonna get every opportunity.
Yeah. I'm excited for
there
sure.
You go. Like riding a bike, right? You just
seriously.
Have you had a chance to talk to Coach Thorpe and Coach Irvin yet?
Yeah. I spoke with them. Like we had a pretty good call, all of us together. We all had a good call before the deal was done, and then obviously I also talked to them after, just about the film and stuff, because I'm watching the film, and there's so many different things happening, and it's the lingo's a little bit different, but it's all the same. You know what I mean? It's all, once you get it, and it's just different names for kind of the same thing. But yeah, we've had great chats, and I'm just excited to kind of get integrated.
So not only will you be relearning the French language, but you're gonna be learning a new language. So you're gonna be like Duolingo here. So it's gonna be good, man.
Duolingo, yeah. And I was just learning Spanish on Duolingo the other day. So, hey, don't give me too much credit now. I'm only on like level 5. It's kind of I can see the similarities, but yeah, I'm excited for sure.
Oh, listen, this is exciting, man. This is great. Okay, Isaac. Obviously, the goal is to help this team repeat as Grey Cup champion. But aside from that, is there any other goals that you're looking forward to in 2024?
This is my first deal out of my rookie deal, and I don't want to set the bar. Like, I have stuff in my own head that I'm looking forward to, and that I have personal that I'm going to keep to myself. But I just want to come in and I just want to help this team. I know this team is a bunch of dogs, and you can feel it when you play against them, and you can feel from the fans' perspective when you're in the stands, and you just know, like, even the fans, like, they just embody that, not the underdog mentality, I'd say. I don't. It's just like hard workers, hard nosed, and they get the job done no matter what has to be done. They just get it done. You don't know how they're going to get it done, but it happens. And so I just want to come in. I just want to contribute in any way possible, and help this team do what needs to be done. That's the major goal, and that's the only goal that I want to set out for myself and for the team.
I think you're going to find that this team does have very much that blue collar lunch pail mentality to it, like bring your boots, go to work kind of thing. And I think you're going to be more than fine in here.
Yeah, I love that, and that's kind of been something that I try to hang my hat on as well. My entire career, I felt like, when people talk about motor or hard worker, that's something that you can always control. So I like that being kind of like a cornerstone quality that this team has, and I'm just excited to get there and to get the work in.
All right, perfect. Well, Isaac, I mean, as I said, we're very excited with the moves that the Alouettes have been making in free agency. Excited to see what you bring to the Alouettes. Before we let you go, how do we find you on social media? How can people follow Isaac on social media?
It's pretty easy. So, a quick story: the Adeyemi-Berglund, the Adeyemi. Really, when I was trying to go to the States for football in college, I put the Adeyemi in my name legally because it's my father's name and then my mother's name. But I put it in there so that it would draw attention. So, they'd open up my hundreds of emails I was sending. They would open them up just like, what is that name? So now it's really like, it's kind of tough because the jerseys and the pronunciation. But if you want to find me on anything, it's just Isaac.Berglund or Isaac Berglund if you search it up. That's pretty much what I go for on social media, just because it's easier for people to find and you don't really got to worry about it. But yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I'm excited, Owls fans, and I appreciate you guys having me on. And anytime you guys ever want to chat, holler at me.
Yeah, for sure. And I was about to say, for your last name, hey, you know what? At least you're not wearing a Major League Baseball uniform where it's a hell of a lot worse. So, I mean, at least they can get the thing across on one nameplate. So,
yeah. No, you're right. You're right, 100%. 100%.
But we're looking forward to seeing you, bud. We really are. We love, it's great meeting you virtually. We'll see you at camp for sure, and we'll come say hey. But again, welcome to Montreal. Welcome back to Quebec, and welcome to Alouettes Nation.
Let's do it. I appreciate you guys.
Great young man, eh? I mean, so well spoken. I can only imagine what we're going to be able to see once we get to see him on the field for relay.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's that Nova Scotia, being brought up right in the Maritimes. You can tell definitely a very respectable, fine young man. Definitely excited to see Isaac Berglund playing in blue and red this year. As we talked about, that defensive line, Danny Mack has been tinkering with it nonstop, and just being able to add a piece like that, as well as with Derek Wigan, Dylan Wynn, to go along with like the Mustafa Johnsons, the Sean Lemons, the Brock Gowanlocks, like, holy crap, that is going to be a force, an absolute force. And we are so excited. We cannot wait to see Isaac Berglund do his thing on the field this year. So glad that he was able to come on and join us. And yeah, we'll definitely have him back on to chat anytime he wants.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get on to our last couple of topics for the show this week, don't want to forget to let everybody know about our socials. You can follow us on X or Twitter or Twix. I still like Twix at Alouettes FL Deck. You can follow us on Facebook at Alouettes Flight Deck Pod, and you can follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Alouettes Flight Deck. Also, if you're looking to catch all of our episodes, and even the ones that you missed of past episodes of the Alouettes Flight Deck, head over to our homepage over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. And also, if you are looking for some merchandise, and as I mentioned last episode too, we got some new stuff coming for you for the 2024 season. Or if you want to get it now, get a jump, do it right now. Head over to our shop over at www.flightdeckgear.ca. And just a reminder, we are also on Blue Sky. You can find us there at Alouettes Flight Deck. Hey, chat with us. Tell us what you think. We want to know. Give us some suggestions, guys. You want to see in the future shows? What you think of the interview? We're here for you guys. That's the main thing.
Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, all the links are down here as well. So make sure you check that out. So no excuses, folks. You know where to find us.
Yep. Subscribe and like. Subscribe and like, and leave a comment. We would love to see what you guys think. So, this week we were talking about players that have recently re-signed with the Alouettes. We had a former Alouette call it a career. Somebody who was very well known in the CFL, also made a huge name for himself in the CFL. It was announced just this week. I think it was just a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken, that Henoch Mwamba has announced his retirement.
Yeah, and what a player. What an absolute beast of a player. And back in 2011, he was the first overall pick, and the hype surrounding him was like nothing else. He had all the tools. You knew this is a guy that could be a major force. He did a little time in the NFL as well, but I mean, his heart always seemed to be set on the CFL. He played for a number of teams, including Montreal, not once, but twice. He was an Alouette. It was kind of funny. He was, when he first came to the Alouettes, the number 10 was already taken. Like his number 10 was already taken. So he ended up with number 50, which is my favorite number. So I was excited. Like, oh, dude, if anyone's going to rock the 50, I am thrilled that it's Henoch Mwamba. Then to come to find out this week that he hated the number 50. He did not he really wanted his 10. And it just, lo and behold, unfortunately, it just was not available to him. So he had to wear the 50 for his first go around as an Alouette. He ended up leaving, I think, with the Saskatchewan, and eventually made his way back to Montreal. At that point, number 10 was available, so he snapped it up and wore it proudly for the next couple of years. Fortunately, he decided to go back home, so to speak. He's from Mississauga and decided to end his playing career as a member of the Toronto Argonauts. But his final game was the 2022 Grey Cup, and what an absolutely outstanding game he played. Ended up winning both. He was voted most valuable player and most valuable Canadian, which is absolutely outstanding. The last person to do that was Andrew Harris to get the double honor, but for Henoch to get that in what essentially ended up being his last game, because he technically hadn't retired. Like, he was technically still an active member of the Argonauts in 2023, but injuries just kept him off the field. He never actually suited up. Instead, kind of focusing, I guess, he was already starting to take the steps towards his post-football career. You can find him co-hosting The Waggle with Donovan Bennett on CFL.ca. Does an absolutely outstanding job. And I guess decided, you know what, may as well make it officially official and call it a career. And I mean, I've met Henoch numerous times, was able to spend some time with him, and just a prince of a gentleman. There's just, as dangerous and terrorizing as he could be on the field for opposing players, he was just so warm, so loving, so generous with his time off the field. Just an absolutely great guy. I do see Henoch Mwamba jerseys throughout Personal Wilson Stadium on game day, so that's I mean, that's a hell of a tribute right there, and it just speaks volumes to the kind of person he was. Lots of Enoch Mwamba Argo jerseys as well. I remember seeing those at the Eastern Final this year at BMO Field.
Yep.
Once again, even though he wasn't playing, and for all intents and purposes, probably wasn't going to play anymore, people were still showing him the love. And to me, that just speaks volumes as far as what kind of a person he was on and off the field. So, Enoch, if you're watching this, just know that we appreciate everything you did for Alouettes Nation. It would have been great to have you be a member of this Grey Cup winning organization, but just didn't work out. But man, what a career. What an absolute beauty of a career. First ballot Hall of Famer. There's absolutely no question in my mind about that. I hope you keep doing the waggle. I hope you keep doing everything that you and seriously, all the best to you in the next chapter, man. We salute you. Alouettes Nation salutes you, and thank you again for everything.
I think with somebody who has, you're talking about how many people still wear his jersey. It shows once you get to that point where people are still wearing your jersey, even though it was just basically a year removed, it still shows that you're in legendary status. That's the thing. You're a legend within within that game itself. So, and then for a guy who was in the league for 10 years, being if he ends up becoming a Hall of Fame or whatever it may be, it's gonna be well worth it.
Yeah, I truly think with his body of work, it's not a matter of if he'll be in the Hall of Fame, but when. And I'll say it. I truly think first ballot Hall of Famer. So I think the minute he becomes eligible, he's going in. I'd be stunned, quite frankly, if he wasn't.
Yeah. So. We've joked about this last year. It seemed to be a huge bit of contention with the Alouettes organization. Some say it was a rallying call during the Grey Cup playoffs and stuff like that, because it was always referenced to, they had misfit toys, we had the 1%, the we the ones, that type of thing. The CFL and their writers put out the very, very early, very unscientific power rankings, didn't they, Cliff?
They sure did. And it doesn't even matter where your team is ranked. You're going to be pissed off. It feels like, unless you're number one, then you're like, well, yeah, of course we should have been number one last year, and so on and so forth. But yeah, it was actually kind of funny because moves were made. Teams went up and down and such. But who was number one? Who else but the reigning and defending Grey Cup champion Montreal Alouettes? Finally, they put some respect on their damn name, and that's awesome. That's great. I mean, again, I really could give a rat's ass about the power rankings. I don't even think twice about it, just because, and not for the for the hater reasons or anything like that. It's just, I mean, for Christ's sake, it's February. A lot's going to happen between now and when training camp opens, and any number of things could happen. Any number of things can change, and this is just clearly trying to stoke that fire, trying to get that off-season talk going, and keep fans interacted and engaged in the product. And I can't fault them for it. That to me, that's part and parcel of how you keep people talking about the CFL 24/7, 365. And
yeah, exactly.
I just laugh because, okay, it would be very easy for them to say, well, obviously the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are number one. I'm like, but the Alouettes beat them in the Grey Cup, so shouldn't the champs be number one? I mean, by default? I mean, you can debate number 2 to number 9 all you want, but shouldn't the defending Grey Cup champions be number one by default? Which, by the way, are the 2 sweetest words in the English language.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and we'll just go over them. I think these are available over on CFL.ca. This is the one that was done specifically by the CFL.ca staff. I know Jamie and I had one there too, and I don't think the Alouettes were put number one, but I'm going to leave that as it is. How dare you? Alouettes were ranked 1. Early ranking last year was 9.
On some boards.
Sorry. Yeah, there we go. I forgot to skip one. Winnipeg is listed as 2. They were 1 last year. BC Lions is 3. Early ranking last year was 2nd. Winnipeg is 4. Early ranking is 7th. That's funny. 7th, and they finished the year with a 7-game losing streak again. Anyways,
You said Winnipeg twice. I think you meant Saskatchewan.
Sorry, Saskatchewan. Toronto listed as 5th. They were 4th last year in the early rankings. Edmonton listed as 6th. They were 8th last year. Ottawa at 7th. They were 6th last year. And Hamilton at 8th. Their ranking was 5th. And Calgary, 3rd down to 9th. Okay. I mean,
well, I mean, it's let's call it for what it is. I mean, Calgary for years was the model franchise for the Canadian Football League, but I mean, they hit some hard times lately, and
Winnipeg has eclipsed them. That is true. Winnipeg really was the standard that people wanted to be until
it's kind of hard to believe though that like Saskatchewan and Edmonton, who arguably were worse than Calgary last year, all of a sudden have usurped them as far as power rankings go. And which again, folks, I mean, it's not scientific by any stretch. It really is just there's a whole metric for it, but we're not going to get into that now. But it is a little jarring.
Well, it's kind of like the metric for the U Sport football rankings. It's weird. It's not done by a coach's poll. It's actually done by a computer based off of this, and this. I'm like, no. We have enough AI in our lives already. We don't need them picking the top 10s, when it comes to U Sport football teams. So it's usually wrong anyways, depending on who wins. I mean, I think what UDM was 2, I think Western was 1, and then was it something like that. So what does that tell you? So I mean, you know what? Put us at 4th, put us at 5th. I don't care. Prove everybody wrong.
I just feel bad though because Cody Fajardo is not going to have his bulletin board material anymore. Like
they'll find something. They will. They will. I just can't see Jake Mayers saying "F you, just watch."
I can't see him saying "F you" either. So
well, we didn't think Cody could say that either.
We didn't, but lo and behold, and there's video proof of it, so he can't walk it back. And
there you go.
But
there you go.
To his credit, he has owned it, and he's even embraced it. He's even leaned into it. So good on him for that. And however Jake Mayer is going to use whatever he's going to use to try and motivate his troops, or even Matthew Schultz, who's now going to be a member of the Stampeders.
Exactly.
Maybe they'll find their Cody Fajardoism and find a way to propel Calgary and prove all the haters wrong. So hey, only time will tell, right?
Yeah, exactly. Only time will tell. Hey, we really appreciate everybody joining us for this week's episode. Like we are doing during the off season, we will go every 2 weeks. So expect to hear from us within the next 2 weeks. But stay tuned to our socials so you can keep up to date on what we're going to do, who we may have, and if we are going to do a live show. That's one of the things like we did in episode 1 that we are going to do a little bit more often. Nothing to take away from Flight Deck Live, but doing these live kind of keeps us in check, so to speak. But I think it kind of worked well. Let us know how you liked our interview this week. You can find us on X. You can find me at Repact. That's REPPACT. And you can find Cliff over at Cliffy D. But we will be back, obviously, again, as I said, in the next couple of weeks. And Cliffy, stay warm, my friend. Stay safe. And obviously, I will talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah, hopefully this wind dies down because it's wild. And so far, and I don't want to jinx anything, but I think we're going to be able to sign off the show and not lose power. So fingers crossed. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. And make sure you follow Isaac Berglund on socials. Make sure you follow us on the socials. And, let's just keep this party going, folks.
Exactly. So for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.